Reacting to the college football playoff week 10 top 25 rankings. Let's start at the bottom, 16 to 25. Between those rankings, some interesting things. Notre Dame jumping up from unranked to 20th after that big win versus Clemson, and Texas jumping up to 18 after a win last week. I think that's just setting up this huge matchup that they have, which is going to be big in Big 12 between TCU and them this week. College game day is going to be there. We're going to be doing a preview video on it, so I won't dive too deep into it, but that's going to be a huge game, and it's going to tell us a lot about the Big 12 and the strength of the overall conference. And Texas is a 7-point favorite, I believe, which is kind of crazy. Tulane, highest ranked group of 5 at 17, and UNC squeaks into the top 15. So now let's start talking about 11 to 15. I obviously, as I've expressed in the past, I think UCLA is being robbed right now. They shouldn't be 12th. They're better than Ole Miss. They have a better resume than them. They're better than Clemson. They have a better resume than them. So, like, I don't really understand UCLA being 12th, but I guess if they went out, then they should theoretically control their own destiny, but they're not showing them the love as if they do. Utah, Penn State, North Carolina. North Carolina's, I feel like if they win out, they have a chance, but the ACC is being hurt by Notre Dame because they beat both their two biggest contenders, albeit on their home field. But let's get into the top 10. 10, we got Clemson. They're not good. I don't think if they win out, they can get in. I think the committee, like, in the way they were talking about it, Reese Davis, Greg McElroy, and them today were like, yeah, they're out. They have one loss. They can still be a conference champ, but they have looked bad this season. I didn't watch Notre Dame game, but the score looks bad. The stats look bad. The highlights look bad. Everything looks bad. They've looked bad all season. They looked like they struggled. They haven't looked like a good undefeated team. I think the nation is praying for this loss because now they don't have to sneak into the playoffs, even if they do in the conference. Alabama at 9. A lot of people saying they're out. I don't understand how Alabama's out if LSU isn't. If LSU loses to Arkansas and A&M, which they're not above doing, and Alabama wins out, goes to Georgia, or goes to Atlanta, beats Georgia, they're not in. If we're saying LSU's in if they win out, why isn't Alabama in if LSU loses their next two SEC games and Bama wins out and goes to the playoff? I don't know. They're still at 9, so I feel like they're in striking distance, but hey, we'll see. 8, we got USC. USC is a team that kind of controls their own destiny. They're gonna have to beat UCLA and then beat Oregon in the Pac-12 chip. Those are the two biggest games for them. Their mission is pretty self-explanatory. You know, they have a 1-point loss on the road to a team that's ranked in the top 15 right now, and you know they're in a nice little spot. They can win out. LSU at 7 right now. Over USC, I think is very, very interesting. I don't think that their resume is better than USC's just because USC's been dominant, but USC's defense hasn't been dominant. So I think that's kind of the thing right there. But then again, LSU's defense hasn't been that excellent either. So I don't really understand that. I think it's just kind of hype off of the win against Alabama and the name brand Alabama, not the team that is this year. Because someone pointed out Alabama is 4 points away from being 5-4 right now. They're also 4 points away from being 9-0 right now. So that just goes to show you if the four games that you would point to, Texas, Texas A&M, Tennessee, LSU. Those 4 games they could have gone either way. 5-4, 9-0. But they sit here at 7-2. Oregon at 6. I feel like the committee loves him. I'm not on the Bo Nix hype train right now. You know, he's having a solid little season, but like they've played one real team, I feel like, through the stretch, like team that has a good defense. I don't know. I'm not a believer in Bo Nix yet. And you know, one good game against USC. He's had good games before. He had a good game against Bama when he beat him at Auburn. So I'm not sold by that. Top 5. So we got Tennessee at 5. I like that ranking. Not overreacting too much to the loss against Georgia. It was a terrible looking loss. They had a lot of red zone trips squandered. A deep ball to Hyatt early could have really opened that game up and made it look a little bit different. That Hendon missed. Georgia did a great job making Hendon look human, which is why they're number 1 team in the country. They look dominant on Saturday. That's their second win over a top 6 team right now. So they have 2 top 6 wins, and both of them have been blowouts, in dominant fashion. So they deserve to be number 1 right now. No complaints from me. TCU at 4. I feel like their resume is better than Michigan's and even Ohio State's, honestly. They haven't looked as dominant as Ohio State, so I can understand you not putting them there, but Michigan struggled a little bit. They've had like some relatively close wins with teams like Michigan State and Iowa. I mean, the scores didn't look that bad, but like the game, like it felt like close, and it was a 2-score game for the majority of both those games. So yeah, I'm not sold on Michigan being a better team than TCU right now, but TCU obviously has had struggles. They've been down 3 scores twice this season, and I think 2 scores 3 or 4 times. They find a way to win games, and that's what you gotta respect. And they've played a tougher schedule than anyone else in the country, it feels like, in terms of contenders. They've played a better schedule than everyone other than really Georgia, who's had 2 top 6 teams. I think TCU has an argument to be number 2. If not, I mean, number 3 definitely, if not number 2. Michigan, you know, they handled business against Rutgers, nothing too crazy. Ohio State in the win, bad conditions. They're a passing team. And starting running back was out. A lot going on. You find a way to get a win. That's what good teams do. They find ways to get wins in unfavorable conditions. Don't look too far into Ohio State can't run the ball. Penn State has a really, really good run defense. Just because Michigan ran all over them doesn't mean they don't have a good run defense. Their run defense, I think top 10 in the country. They're averaging like 2 yards per carry before, like if you take out that Michigan game. Great run defense. Northwestern game, you can put 10 in the box when you can't throw the ball past 10 yards because of wind. That's just life. They don't look too deep into the Ohio State score or anything. A win is a win, and they'll see Michigan, and the winner of that game is going to be interesting. And obviously, the question: does the loser of that game have a shot to get back in the playoff mix if it's close? Who knows? Yeah, that's my reaction to the ranking. I don't think anything too drastic happened. I feel like LSU overreaction is kind of crazy. Bama overreaction is kind of crazy, and even though I agree with it in a sense, Clemson's overreaction is kind of crazy. You notice a theme that those are big brand schools, so that might have something to do with it. Yeah, like for more content, like, comment, subscribe. After that, yeah.